Yeah, so hi everybody, this is Nishika and I'm your course instructor for the subject of business communication. I hope you guys must have watched my previous two modules where I have talked about some of the important concepts of business communication. And today I'm starting with my third module, which is on employment communication. So, employment communication is basically the communication happening between a job seeker and a employer. So, under employment communication, the job seeker presents himself or herself towards the employee, which is offering a job position or a vacancy in the company. So, let's see what we are going to discuss today in this module. So we'll be talking about resumes, how to make them, or I'll be taking an example of a standard resume, and I'll be telling some of the important pointers that needs to be taken into consideration while you are preparing a resume. Secondly, we'll be talking about the cover letter, how it looks like, and I'll be talking about its importances as well, and some of the tips through which you can make an effective cover letter. Then we'll be moving forward towards interview. We'll be seeing what type of questions are generally asked during an interview and some of the tips and tricks to so that you can excel in an interview which you are going to be facing in near future. Then an important stage in the process of employment communication, which is follow up. We'll be talking about that. And lastly, the etiquettes at the business place or at the social media presence and all those related concepts. So let's start with resume. So basically, resume is the brief description of all your achievements till now. It covers your personal details, your education, your courseworks, your work history, and all those achievements that you have done till now. So this is a standard example of the resume, which you must be seeing on my screen. So, you should use simple fonts and design features while you're making your resume. You should use clear dates in reverse chronological order. So, as it's written September 2011. So, this is a reverse chronological order. Next is that it should be easy to scan headings and bullets. So you should not use jargon in formatting your resume. Simple words which can be easily understandable by all the employers should be used here, and lots of white space so that your resume do not look flooded with the content, and it should be eye catchy, or we can say it should be convenient for the reader to read what's written on your resume. Or you should give clear descriptions with action verbs, like description about what was your experiences, what were your responsibilities, and the most important thing, that the information that you are providing on your resume should be 100% accurate. Because if a check happens upon the accuracy of the information that you are providing, which generally happens while the company is confirming your candidature, if the information that you have provided seems to be inaccurate, then your candidature can also be cancelled. So you should provide 100% accurate information in your resumes. So you should be very precise and conscious while you are selecting your content of the resume. About the contact information, so you should provide your name, full name, which is on the official documents that you are having, and your full address where you're residing, your email address, and your phone number. So these are the mandatory things under the head of contact information which should be there on your resume. Secondly, if you're talking about your education, so you should mention your college name or the name of the university, your major like commerce, economics, finance, or something like that, and the name of the degree which you are pursuing or you did in past years, and then the date of graduation in which your graduation got completed. Then you're gonna mention your work experiences, and this is the most important part, which any employer would be looking at. So it should mention the name of you should mention the name of the companies that you have worked with, the job titles at which you were working, your responsibilities or your achievements during that job position, or the tenure of the employment, when did it started and when it ended. So these all information should be there in the head of work experiences in your resume. And then you gonna mention other skills and experiences. So this can include extracurricular activities or sports activities or anything like that. And the languages you know, computer skills, and if any spatial skills you possess. So you're going to mention all those stuff under this head. So, as I told, that work experience is a major part in your resume that every employer is going to look into. So, here are some of the tips for including your work experiences into your resume. First one is that you should prefer the chronological resume style. So the work you did previously should mention before, then the work you completed recently. So a chronological date-wise order should be followed while you are mentioning about your education or about your work experiences. Second is provide complete information about your work history. So you should not just mention that job and that you have worked as an analyst at XYZ company. You should provide complete information, like what were your roles and responsibilities, if you have achieved anything exceptional during that job position. So you gotta mention that here, and then show how your work experience qualifies you for the specific job. So here you can modify your resume according to this job or description or the specific job profile that you are applying into, so that an employer gets an attraction towards it, that yeah, this profile matches the candidature I am looking into. Next is use concrete achievement oriented words to describe your experiences. So you should not use lengthy sentences to express or to state what you want to describe. So you should use concrete words, and achievement oriented words definitely leaves a good impression upon the reader. Next is stress specific accomplishments directly related to the job. So you can just highlight them or underline the specific accomplishments which are really which makes you stand out from the crowd, I would say. Next is include relevant unpaid positions. So you should not flood your work experiences with a lots of unpaid or unnecessary positions, because they do not get much weightage. So only relevant unpaid positions should be included. So these were the some of the tips for including your work experiences in your resume. Next is edit for more concise bullets. So as it's written that instead of this long paragraph, we can just shorten it. I would just give example here. So as it is given that was responsible for creating, designing, and developing a new web page about sustainability effort at the company Coca-Cola. So you can just irrespective of this, you can just write that created, designed, and developed a new web page at Coca-Cola. So it would be more precise and effective. So resume supplement. So resume could be of two types. First one would be online resume, or we can say paper resume, and second one would be video resume. So in the online resume or the paper resume, everything is written, whereas in video resume, you talk about yourself, you talk about your work experiences, you talk about your education, and you just make a video and give it to the employer or upload it in a particular place where it is required. So this sums up the topic of resume. Now we come to cover letter. So let's see what are the cover letter. So basically the purpose of a cover letter or the email that we are sending showing our interest for that particular job. So what purpose does it solve? Firstly, we are expressing our interest in the company and the position position through our cover letter. I'll show a example of a cover letter. But how does it look like? So these pointers will be more clear later on. Secondly, you are highlighting how your background specifically matches the job qualifications or why the particular employer should prefer you over other candidates. Thirdly, it solves our purpose that it reveals a bit about your personality so that, uh, or it would, I would say that it makes you stand out from the crowd. And fourthly, you would demonstrate your business writing skills while you're writing a proper cover letter to a company. And lastly, it provides the employer with logistical information that are necessary for preliminary scrutinizing of your application. So these are the purposes that cover letter or email showing or expressing your interest in the particular company solves. So what to include in a cover letter or email? So this is a basic structure of a cover letter. So you gotta mention the address of the company, then you are mentioning the date and your addresses, then the salutation, dear Miss XYZ. I'm applying for the position of finance management trainee at Bank on Me. So here's the name of the position that you're applying and the name of the company. I found this job posting on Duke Career Opportunities webpage. So where did you got to know about the opportunity? And I think it's perfect fit for my finance skills and leadership skills. So here I'm describing why I'm so much interested to apply for this position. So now you're describing your interest in the job. So as it's written that ever since I was in high school, I had a strong interest in finance. With both parents working in the banking industry, I have been investing in stocks with my allowance money since I was 15 years old. I watched Square Bank on CNBC with my father every morning before he went to work. So you're expressing your interest in the job. Why are you interested in this particular job? And then you just go on expressing your interest, your experiences, and why would you want to work with that particular company. So you should use the standard letter format which we are using for any other business letters that we are writing, and you should keep the opening short so that the reader just simply get to know what's the purpose behind you writing that application to them. And another point is that you should expand on relevant experiences only because nobody is going to read two or three page long paragraphs just to go to know the gist of the application that they have received. So you should expand on relevant experiences only, not just on irrelevant or futile experiences. You should not keep on elaborating upon each one of them in details. Second, next pointer is that you should politely ask for an interview. So you're making an application, and obviously the next step in the selection process is an interview. So you should politely ask them for an interview. Like as it's said that I believe my qualification also described in the attached resume make me the perfect candidate. I'll call you next week or maybe chat, and you're giving your phone number or the email ID here so that the employer can contact you for the same. Thank you for your consideration sincerely and your name and signature. So you should use a standard closing to your cover letter. So how to find networking contacts? So like you are sending your cover letter, but how to get those leads? Like where to send those cover letters or the resumes. So you should expand your job search by meeting with people. The more people you'll meet, the more your network would be, and your job opportunities will also be multiplied. So your school's alumni database could be your networking circle, your friends or family, or the company's website. So the companies have a tab called careers where you can just find out the way through which you can apply for a particular position in the company, and the articles about the company which we daily go to we daily go to see many articles in the newspapers and the magazines about the company. So you can expand your network here or go to know about the job profile through these sources. So this sums up the topic of cover letter. Now I come to interviews. So, what type of interviews questions can be asked to you? So, these are four categories. First one is standard questions that would include journal questions like what are your hobbies, what are your strengths and weaknesses, what do you do in your free time, or something like that. Next category is behavioral questions. So, an interviewer could ask you specific questions about your past behavior so that it would be easier for them to predict your future performances. Or the third category would be cases. So, cases generally require you to analyze and solve a problem, so they can just simply give you a case study to come out with a solution to test your analytical skills. And the last one and the most difficult and unpredictable type of interview questions is stress based, which stimulates a stressful environment around you and tests your skills that how would you treat the stress coming your way. So let's see each one of them in a bit details. First one is the behavioral interview questions. So basically, behavioral interview questions checks your ability to relationship building, and the standard or the example question that can be asked would be, please tell me about the best working relationship you ever had. Please describe a time when you had to work with someone you didn't like and what did you do during that situation. Or it could be like, describe a time when it was particularly difficult for you to gain credibility with someone and what did you do in that situation. So they could be relationship building based questions, and they could be problem solving or decision making based questions. And some of the examples would be, describe a problem you have had on the job and how you went about solving it. Or it could be, give me an example of an assignment you had either in school or at work that you found particularly challenging, and how did you go about handling it. So they are asking about a particular situation and the solution that you found out about during that particular situation. Or it could be, please tell me about a difficult decision you have made in the last year. So your problem solving or decision making skills would be tested from these types of questions. So, a basic approach to tackle these types of questions would be a star behavioral interview response, I would say. It is a very commonly used approach to answer these types of questions. So, let's see what is a star behavioral interview response approach. So the S stand for situation, T stands for task, A stands for action, and R stands for result. So situation or task is, you are going to describe what context is important for the interviewer to understand, and just a brief explanation about the situation, the task that you have been allotted with. Action is, how did you handle the situation, what did you do during that situation. And R is result, how did the situation turn out, like what were the consequences of the action that you have taken, and how can you prove that your action was appropriate in this situation. So you are going to answer behavioral interview questions in this particular manner following this chronological order. Like first of all, you will be specifying the situation, the task, then the action you have taken, and what were the consequences or how did the situation turn out, and also how to prove that your action was the best suited action that could be taken at that time. So this was all about the star behavior interview response. Now I come to video and phone interviews. How do you going to tackle video and phone interviews? So first of all, you should eliminate noises and distractions from your background. You should prepare a neat, professional looking workspace, or you could just blur your background, or you should dress as you would for an in-person interview. You should not take an online or a video interview very likely that you would be dressing in a civil dress or your home clothes. You should dress as would have dressed in a in-person interview. You should practice with a friend to check lighting or a sound, or you can consider shorter responses to make it easier for the interview to jump in for phone interviews, basically, because so that it should not get boredom. It should not brought boredom to the listener, because in the phone interview they are not seeing your face, so it should be considered while you are on a phone interview. So for preparing for interviews, you can just prepare your own questions so that it would be easier for you to tackle them if they come across your way. So so some of the questions that you can simply prepare for an interview would be: how would you describe a typical day on the job? What opportunities exist for ongoing training and development? Why did you choose to work here and what keeps you here? What is the first problem the person you hire must attend to? What makes someone successful in this position? What are the organization's plans for the future? How do you see as the biggest opportunities and challenges for this division or company? So this could be standard questions that could be asked. Now, for the interview, dress also matters a lot. So, you should choose a well tailored, clean, conservative outfit for the interview, because as it's stated that first impression is the last impression, and your dress definitely puts an major impression upon the viewer. So, you should choose a well tailored, clean, and conservative outfit for your interview. So this sums up the topic of interview. Now I come to fourth topic, which is follow up. So has this happened to you? Like you just received a form letter after the initial application, or you would receive no response after a screening or a first interview, or you have received no response even after a second or a third interview. So what to do in those situations? How would you rather being just idly sitting, you should take an action, and this is what we call as follow up. So you what would you do in this situation? You can just call within a week or so after you send your resume if you receive no response over it, or you can just respond to the interviewer for a request to conduct your interview. So this could be the possible follow-ups if you haven't received any confirmation if you while you are sharing your resume, or and in this way you can simply ask the interviewer for an interview. And what should you do after an interview once your interview is being conducted? So you should immediately following the interview critique your performance, your resume and your cover letter, or you would send a thank you email to the interview for conducting your interview. So this would be following up task after an interview. Now the last is etiquettes. So let's see what it has in store. So, the dining etiquettes basically includes if you are on a business lunch or a business dinner, how would you perform? So, before the meal, you should confirm the dietary restrictions. You should make reservation or prefer making your order at the last, or you should go light on the liquor, or you could wait for the host to start eating. So, whosoever is hosting that dinner or lunch, if it's your boss or the employer, something like that. And during the meal, you should engage in conversation. You should take small bites. Use outer silverware first. You should keep your elbows off the table, and you can leave napkin on the chair. And after the meal, you should not take leftovers home. You should offer to pay, and you should thank the payer, or you can give a tip of 15 to 20% and send a thank you note to whosoever has arranged that dinner or a party, something like that. Next is managing your online reputation. So, how can you manage your online presence? So, you should manage your privacy settings. You should Google yourself to know your worth. You should avoid posting questionable content or the content that would invite, we would say, objections, or you should post positive content that shows your strength. So these are the some of the tips for managing your online reputation. Okay, so now while you're working in the office, you should always knock on your coworker's cubicle. You should never shout a comment to the next cubicle. Instead, just walk into and convey your stuff that you wanted to convey. Next, do not leave valuables unattended. You could avoid talking on the phone too loudly, and you could avoid eavesdropping on conversation. So, with this, I come to end of this topic as well, and I hope I must have put forward my thoughts or the basics that needs to be followed while communicating in an organization, or basically while you are seeking for a job or you are going to prepare for an interview. And I hope I have covered all the stages that needs to be followed or taken care of during the employment communication. So that was it from my end during in this topic. And if you people have any doubts, I would be happy to take them up. In case there's no doubt, then we can just conclude our session here, and we would be meeting next Friday with my last and the final module of the course Business Communication. Okay, so thank you for joining in. Do like, share, and subscribe our channel.